Hi, this is Marguerite, the author of the Kapheus series of children's books. This is the Kapheus series. There are 5 books in the series: Earth, Air, Water, Fire and Spirit. And every day I'm at 3 o'clock, I'm live on Instagram. So you can see me on Instagram as well as on Facebook Live. But every day at 3 o'clock you'll see me live on Instagram talking, reading from my books and talking about characters, themes, landscape, etc. So I want to say that I have received a number of questions from fans, and I'm just going to answer them now. So the first question I have received is, what inspired me to write books? So I was originally a biochemist, and then I trained as a psychologist, and then after that I suppose I fell into writing because I used to tell stories to lots of children that I met along the way. And one child was really upset, and she said that she was going back home. Her parents were returning to the country in which she was born, and that she wouldn't be able to hear another story from me. And she was really upset about it, and she was crying. And I thought, oh God, what will I do? I'll write a story, and when I write a story, maybe she will have that story then forever. She'll always have a piece of me then. And always be able to refer back to the story whenever she wanted to. So I decided to go home, open the laptop and write a story. But that story became Kapheus Earth, the first book in the Kapheus series. And there it is actually behind us. And I fell in love with writing then. I caught the bug for writing, and once I caught the bug, I couldn't stop writing. It was one of those things. My first book, I didn't know what to do. I knew that when you send it to a traditional publisher, you could be 1 year, 2 years longer waiting for a response to see if the book will ever be published. And you might get a response, you mightn't get a response. And I just thought, well, why not just seize the moment and do it, you know? So I I went on Google and looked up images of dragons. And when I looked up the images of dragons, I found a particular illustrator that I thought was really good at drawing dragons, and I contacted him, and his name was David T. Wenzel, and I didn't realise at the time that David Wenzel was the man who had illustrated The Hobbit. So I found his email address online, and I contacted him, and I said, David, would you mind illustrating the cover of my book? And this is my first book that you can see just there. And he said, well, it isn't that easy. And I said, what's the situation around getting a book illustrated? And he said, well, it has to pass my agent first. And I thought, oh no, this is going to take ages, because everything in traditional publishing tends to take a long time. So David asked his agent to read my manuscript overnight and to see if it would be good enough. So the agent read the manuscript and contacted me the following day. So that was David T. Wenzel, the man who illustrated The Hobbit, illustrated all of these books here behind you, the covers of all of the books. So he said it was okay. She said it was okay. So he was able to put his name to it. Then he has thoroughly enjoyed reading my books and creating the covers. If you can see the illustrated covers behind me, he has created those illustrated covers. So it's fantastic to get the man who illustrated The Hobbit to illustrate the cover of your book. So that's a great achievement. The next question that I was asked, the questions are just here. The next question that I was asked is, how much money do you make? How much money do I make? Not enough. This is something children, there's always, when you go and meet children, there's always in schools or wherever you meet children, there's always one who will ask you how much money you make. And I often think their parents must be accountants or bankers or something, because there's always one who will ask you that question. And I always answer it the same way. It depends on how many books you buy. So it's very much like that for all independent authors, and it all depends on getting your name out there, being seen. You have to work incredibly hard. You have to give it everything you have and hope that you can, and your marketing strategies work. You have promoted it well enough and that you've written it well enough. Sometimes the fantastic books can actually be lost because there's thousands upon thousands of millions of books out there. So it's really down to people purchasing your books and telling other people about it to build that marketing, because it's very hard when you're a small publisher or you're independent author as opposed to the likes of large traditional publishers that we all know the names of. So it really depends on you, the public, to purchase the books. And I think so that was the question that was always asked in schools. So there are 3 questions I've answered now, and I leave it at those 3 questions, and I will talk to you again. Remember, if you to support everybody, to support the illustrators, the designers, the proofreaders, the editors, the author, he or she is, and everyone in the process, please, it's down to you to purchase the book. So at this time, when it's a great time to really bond with your children, really sit down and read with your children, this is the time to do it. And these books are for 8 to 13-year-olds. So Eliza's 8, Jamie's 9, 9 and 10, 10 and 11, 11 and 12, and 12 and 13. In this book, Eliza's still in primary school and Jamie has just started in secondary school. So this is the type of books. So they start from very young and the children grow older as the books evolve. So thank you very much for listening. And I will answer more of your questions tomorrow. So keep sending in questions. Keep asking me questions about what I do, how, anything you want to know about the books, anything you want to know about writing. Keep asking the questions and I will be here to answer them. So thank you very much for listening. I've kept this nice and short so that you're not overburdened. And please purchase books. You can buy these on Kapheus.com, Kapheus.com. And to read to your children, to support your children. If you get a good reader, you have a good communicator for life. Thank you very much for your support. Take care. Bye-bye.